She's called the apostle to the apostles. That's why. It's exactly what she did. She went to announce the word, the good news to the apostles. But let me touch on the first reading, the Song of Songs. It's one of the pieces of literature that is kind of erotic in the scriptures. People don't believe it is, but it is. I mean, if you read all of it, it's really very, very romantic, which shows that the Bible has a variety of types of literature, and that's to enrich us as people. It's not meant to be a distraction, but it's meant to, in this case, raise up, venerate romantic love between husband and wife. And the bride is in her bed, longing for her husband, and she's looking forward to him coming, and she's asking the Lord to bring him he whom my heart loves. I mean, it's such a beautiful piece of literature. It's put here, I think, by the church on the feast of St. Mary Magdalene, just to talk about not the romantic love necessarily, but the love that Mary Magdalene had for Jesus. There are many, many stories about Mary Magdalene, most of which you know, okay? A pope, I forgot his name, in the 6th century referred to her as a prostitute. Now, nowhere in Scripture is she referred to as a prostitute, but that became her nickname. And all of the art from the Middle Ages, almost like through modern times, pictured her as, a sumptuous woman, sensuous woman, but that wasn't her. The reason the Pope chose that phrase was there's a section when she's introduced in the scripture as Mary Magdalene, the one from whom Jesus removed the 7 devils, 7 demons, 7 evil spirits. Now, 7 is the key here. It's a whole number in Hebrew literature. So when you say 7, we know 7 days, 7 weeks, a week and all that good stuff. But when they said 7, it was a whole number. It was like all the time. 70, that's why I think of Peter and Jesus. 70, is 7 times enough? No, Jesus takes the number and multiplies it. 70 times 7. Okay, so push the 7 out of the way. And we do know that there was a woman in Scripture who washed the feet of Jesus with her tears and dried them with her hair. Somehow she and Mary Magdalene got mixed up. I mean, you'd need a ton of scholars to tell you why and how that happened, but that's not what we're concerned about. Another reference to Mary Magdalene is with her sister, and that's what she's more famous with. Her sister was Martha and Mary. Very, very good friends of Jesus. Jesus raised their brother Lazarus from the dead. And Jesus, Mary, and Martha were buddies. They were close friends. So life goes on, and throughout the scriptures, we always read when people were following Jesus, Mary of Magdala and the other Mary, sometimes that's what she's called, were following him. At the cross, Mary of Magdala, Mary his mother, and Mary of Clopas, Mary's cousin. And now we come to the most outstanding experience a follower of Jesus could have. She's weeping at the tomb for the dead Jesus. This is important for us because he's not dead. You know it, I know it. She didn't know it at the time. But she became the evangelist. That's why she's called by one of the popes the apostle to the apostles. You heard the story, very well written by John. And John, when John writes something, he's writing it from his heart. He's called the beloved disciple for a reason. He presents Jesus in a very intimate way. He's just close to Jesus and Jesus' friends. And He knows what happened. When Mary is weeping at the tomb and Jesus appears to her and she goes back to Peter and the other apostles and she announces the resurrection. And she becomes in literature one of the holy women who follow Jesus. She was from Magdala, a little town on the Sea of Galilee. When we were there, we went through Magdala. It's a little fishing village. And Magdalene is a person from Magdala. That's not her claim to fame. Her claim to fame is that she was close to Jesus. Your and my claim to fame should be that same thing. That we are close to Jesus. And that we feel free to announce the resurrection to others. Now, we can't always say, we can, I mean, not that we can't, but it doesn't always have to be in the context of the resurrection, but in the context of us knowing Jesus, being willing to sit at the feet of Jesus and hear him, and announce to others what our faith is. And that's Mary's claim to fame. The fact that she announced what her faith was, her faith in Jesus, and she shared it with others. I mean, the scriptures give us little glimpses of her and her actions, but she's always pictured with the apostles. Some say she may have been wealthy, and some say she was one of those women who would support the physical needs of the apostles. What her job was, what her inheritance was, I don't know. But with what she had, she gave it to Jesus. Her faith she gave to Jesus. Her belongings, her physical, monetary, food, clothing, gave it to the apostles of Jesus. Because she wanted to keep the mission going. So today we honor someone who kept the mission going for 2,000 years, and because of that, we honor her as the first apostle. And you know, in the times of Jesus, women did not have a good thing of it. As a matter of fact, they weren't regarded as witnesses. If she came back and said, I saw Jesus, she's a woman, what does she know? That would have been the attitude. And it was the attitude in the scriptures. But she comes back and she brings Peter and John back to the tomb. And as her reward, Jesus appears to her. Before John, before Peter, before beloved apostle, before the first apostle, Mary Magdalene, an apostle to the apostles, a friend of people, close to the earth, and a friend and role model for women of our church. And I look around and I see our church still has mostly women. So you ladies have a great role model, Mary of Magdala.